Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Garage Strength Podcast. I'm Earl. Usually I'm introduced as King of the PA Press, 3-time world champion, co-author of the year. I have a fourth title just sitting in the wings waiting to see the light of day. When that happens, it will happen. I do not have Dane here with me today. Instead, I have a special guest. I have the legend with us, who is the speed guru, if you will.
I do not have Dane here with me today.
Legend,
Instead, I
tell
have a
the
special
people
guest.
at home listening to the podcast.
The legend with us, who
hello. I'm Legend. Yes, Legend Hayes. I am a trainer here at Garage Strength. I've been training since 2020 here. Started the speed and agility lead and about 2 years ago now. So background about me specifically, I am a discus thrower. I've been throwing discus. This is my 11th year now, about 5 years post-collegiate. Qualified for nationals this will be my third time now. So that's kind of my thing for myself.
What's your personal best throw?
63.29 meters.
What does that mean in?
That is 207 feet in American.
All right. So almost a football field. Well,
it's
2/3 of one.
It's it's 2/3. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think in Peak Strength, the app, those are called imperial units.
Imperial? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the legit way of saying it. Okay.
I don't know that. Just Peak Strength does it.
Yeah.
You were training today, weren't you? You just came from training.
Yeah, I was training. I had an upper body session.
How'd that go?
It went well. Had the pre-workout and just went after it.
Yeah. Did you get to bench today?
I did get to bench. Lots of bench. 5 sets, 4 reps, same weight over and over.
Oh, you had a static?
Yeah, static. I don't know. I prefer ramping over static, honestly, just because the thought of just knowing you're hitting this weight over and over and over again, there's no climax. There's no end goal. It kind of makes it feel longer, but
it just goes forever.
Yeah.
You're less likely to fail at static though when you are ramping.
That is true. So you get in more of a groove.
Yeah.
You don't want to beat yourself up if you miss the last rep.
Are you someone who, when they ramps, is like, I'm PRing today?
No. I rarely feel like I can. I have to be really feeling it good. But
are you someone who takes a 2 kilo jump to get close to the PR? Are you someone who's like 15 kilos gets me to a PR? Let's go.
I don't do anything less than 5 kilo jumps.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just unless it's the last set and I already hit close to a PR.
No world record jumps, as I like to say. That the 1 kilo, the world record plates, just add the 0.5.
You don't feel that. I mean, you do, but depends on how much weight it is.
I'm just gonna ask them now. They're here.
All right.
This is from Frederick W. Currently doing 2 sets, aiming to build both sets to 8 reps before adding weight. Doing this for all my main lifts and usually take it to failure on the second set. How to modify for fresh into races.
So
2 sets.
2 sets.
Trying to hit 8 reps before adding weight. So it seems like over weeks,
over weeks,
I need to be able to hit 100 kilos for 2 sets of 8
Yeah.
before I'll add any weight is what how I'm reading that.
Okay.
And doing it for all the main lifts. So for bench, squat.
Yeah, you want to be able to do that for 4 or 5 sets.
Yeah. And usually take it to failure on the second set. So if they hit 8 reps, they keep going. I'll hit 11 or 13 or 20. How to modify that for fresh into races. Andrew said you getting closer helped then too.
Okay, that's good. Now you can hear me.
So I guess I think we worked through that. One of the reasons we have Andrew's doing the live stream. That's why I said that. Why we have Legend on is because we want to talk about speed, and Legend has been dedicating himself to learning all things speed, reading books kind of nonstop on it.
Yeah.
Dealing constantly with the on-site athletes, working with our football camp guys that professional aspirations around it, sort of being Dane's complete resource around that too, right? Like you and him in conversation on a daily basis, multiple times a day around this topic. I know during the football prep, you were over there every time they were doing their speed day, right? Like you were in that. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Like what that was like training with those guys?
Yeah, so that was a privilege to be able to do that. We had a couple guys. 3 of them had just graduated from their senior years from different divisions. One guy was D1, 2 guys were D2, and they were looking to have a real big show up for their combines. And we trained from, I believe we started like early January. And we went all the way through until like mid-March, just focusing solely on speed and agility twice a week, about a couple miles down in Reading. And that was a really fun experience to get more of a professional setting done, higher than like the high school and college level, which is where I've been typically sitting around for the past 2 years. Dane pretty much, worked on a overall plan, and I put my input on to what I believe they should be doing as far as details and, reps and schemes like that. And we were kind of learning week by week what to give them, how to progress them so they really peaked well at the end of it. And it was a really great experience and a lot of great results.
What was one of the drills you gave them and you were like, do this drill? And what was sort of the intention behind the drill?
Yeah, well, there were a lot of drills. So, the thing about football is, when you train for a combine, you're kind of training for a whole different thing compared to, the game that you're playing. Because the combine is so specific with just a couple of these exercises. But football is dynamic. There's a lot of agility, a lot of deceleration. But when you're training for a combine, you're training for, a very specific skill set in different things. For example, 5-10-5. That's a very specific drill. So you got to almost walk through it from the beginning and go from there. And the guys were coming off of basically championship season. 2 of them were from Kutztown University, had a really successful season. They made it to the Final Four. And they were not in peak shape. They were basically they were in end of season, kind of just going week by week, football form. And so a lot of it was really basic. Sled walks was a big one early on.
Why were you using sled walks early on? What was the purpose behind it? What were you trying to get out of them?
Breaking down the movements as simple as possible and making them correct. Because when you're late in season, your natural movements are what's dominant. So just bringing some sled pushes, you're pushing the sled, you keeping good angles straight with your whole back, and you're just chopping the legs right underneath your hips. Something as simple as that was something we did every warm-up. Just go down 10 yards and back just to reinforce those movements. As simple as it is, it played a big role in just getting them prepped for moving as optimal as possible for just a couple reps.
And what was this it sounds you had them moving slow when they're doing this. Yeah. To prep to go as fast as possible. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Can you talk on that a little bit? What?
Yeah, so basically the beginning of the sessions was all body prep and movement prep. We would do PVC walks and then pair that with the sled push that I just mentioned. Prepping their body, but also prepping the body to move in a certain way so that when you go top speed, you don't got to worry about it. You don't got to think. That's kind of the idea behind it, is do the warm up and pair that with a movement exercise early on in the session so that later in the session you don't have to cue it so much. You don't have to reinforce it because they've been doing it. So
yeah, they got physical reps through it, and now it's just getting it up to speed.
Yeah, the thing about coaching those elite guys too is that they already know. They know for the most part what the goal is. So cueing them is slightly different in that aspect. You kind of almost got to reel it back way more compared to like high school, college, because they're fresh, they haven't had that impression yet. But those guys who are trying to go elite, like, give them 1 to 2 cues is all that was needed, and then you just kind of like let them work with that.
And they'll figure it out.
And then they'll figure it out. That's why we kind of wanted to keep it simple early on, and just keep it like 1 or 2 things at a time for each session. Yeah.
So if I'm hearing you right, you do stuff slow to prime the body in the warm up.
Mm-hmm.
It would almost had a technical component to it
Yeah.
that would reinforce what was going to then happen at speed.
Mm.
You also had guys coming off a season, so you were purposefully doing things that didn't create a ton of loading, but still prime the body.
Mm.
And then it would feed into your speed work. Then the 2 sessions they would do specifically around speed a week in the training between January up through March. I think it was like 63 days, somewhere around there it ended up being.
Yeah,
from like when they started
accurate.
to their camp.
Yeah, that sounds accurate. Maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah, around there.
But
yeah.
January, sometime in March, it got them too.
It was for sure 2 months at least.
Nice. Oh man, you want to? We got an audience question real quick too.
Okay.
That we can like we'll
Just
dovetail, come back in and out. Too.
Yeah.
This one was from Andrew. My question for Legend is: what event would you want Dane and Earl to compete in for Dad-athlon to determine who is the most athletic father on the podcast? Legend's a dad too, so he could actually compete.
I am a dad too.
What event would you have?
So what event?
Yeah, it's basically Dane and me to say who's more athletic.
Who's more athletic? Yeah.
Even though it's,
I mean, the thing about that is the first thing that came to my mind was a decathlon. Not gonna lie,
just
because that's probably the most athletic feature you could do.
But what if you could change the events in the decathlon?
If you could change the events, I mean, that would make it fun.
Yeah.
Because then there's multiple things like Dane might get you the throws one, but you can make up for like the I don't know. Can you jump?
He has years of experience. I beat him in the broad jump.
Beat him in the broad.
I think I have to figure out how to test on that vertical mat test.
Okay.
To get him on it, but I think I could.
Yeah, like instead of high jump, we don't have a high jump. They do invert.
And I'm pretty decent at. I think I'm more agile than him side to side than he would give me credit for.
But the decathlon doesn't address that.
No.
You can't. You would have to switch something out.
I told him too. I was like, if I get to pick events, I was like, I want a handstand walk race. I'm like,
so you're getting more into like CrossFit there.
Well, just general. If we're talking athletics, like I'm gonna go the gambit.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm gonna find edges too. I was like, if we're doing upper body strength, like I want to do ring muscle ups, like things like
stuff like that where it's like clearly he won't be able to.
Yeah, because you have to be more athletic.
Yeah,
that's the whole point.
But then he's gonna say, "Let's just bench press the squat because that's the basics."
Right. I might be able to get him in the squat right now, actually, because of all his marathon running.
Yeah, he hasn't been training that. Not at all.
And like I said, like I think I could keep up, if not beat him, if we go on like a bike, an assault bike. I think I could get him.
Oh yeah.
On that stuff too, but
just actually no assault bike. Just make it like a bike race.
Oh. That would be fun.
That would be fun. Just go from
but out on 222, I'm likely to get hit by an 18-wheel or something like that.
Hey, a little bit of adrenaline didn't hurt anybody in an athletic event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So prepping for this, Legend, we were talking about the things that make up speed.
Mm.
And you had told me there's like 2 things that like are pivotal.
Mm.
You said it was acceleration and basically max speed. Like
I mean, to put it like super basic. Yeah.
Yeah. At like the macro level.
Yeah.
Legend, can you tell me about acceleration?
Yeah, I can tell you. I can tell you a lot. So basically, and I'll just use like our pro guys as kind of like the examples for all of the all this I'm about to say. So acceleration comes down to like impulse, right? Like the ability to change that momentum. So how do you do that? You need to have the ability to move using your strength. The basic way to improve that is just getting stronger. Not being afraid of the weight room, to put it that way too. Because I think there's a lot of thought into, acceleration and how to get faster, and the weight room's not really like the end all be all, but just to put it basically, like for most people, they're just not strong enough to push themselves through each step fast enough, then they can optimally at their most optimal way.
So if I'm in the weight room, right? So like acceleration, one way I can improve it is I get in the weight room. What am I doing in the weight room then? Like what are some?
Yeah. So like to put it in weight room terms, like single leg squats is my favorite. And then also cleans if it's an Olympic lifting movement. Also on the field, speed sled was probably by far the most influential to help actually transfer that strength into like speed acceleration. With the pro guys, there is like a wide variety of strength capabilities. We had a D tackle, and
that was Earl,
safety.
right?
Yeah, Earl was a D tackle.
And Earl squats like 500 pounds for reps.
Oh
right?
yeah,
like,
he could probably bang out like 8-10 reps when he's feeling good on back squat 500. Like he's got strength, but for him it was like learning how to transfer that. So he didn't necessarily need that weight room stuff. But the two other guys, Cam and Ty, they're on the defensive side, DBs. One of them was much stronger than the other, but they both needed to basically transfer their strength into speed strength. So, like, they didn't need the cleans in single leg as much, but they needed the speed sled, that in between, to kind of transfer that strength that they had into that impulse ability to move themselves quickly. Now, I would say they're already like really athletic dudes, D2, D1 football players. Like
yeah, they're playing football at the college level.
They're playing at the college, so like it's expected that the weight room isn't gonna change drastically. But I mean, they were coming off a season, so they did need to lift a lot, and that did play a role in getting them in shape. But that speed sled, I think I would say is the best basic tool to help your acceleration.
Now, when you do the speed sled, am I pushing it in front of me, or am I like putting a harness and dragging it behind me?
I prefer you have a harness around your waist and you're dragging it behind you. Yeah.
Why is that? Why is it that you prefer that?
Two things. Mainly because when you're pushing a sled, like your arm mechanics they're stuck in this position. So when you have the harness, you're able to sprint as your full body mechanics. Also, I prefer the waist, just because when it's on the chest, you tend to like dip down a little bit more with the body when you're pushing the sled.
How does that negatively impact like your acceleration with
speed?
speed?
So like you want to accelerate by having your steps either right underneath you, like if this is your center of mass, feet underneath or slightly behind. Sometimes when you dip forward a little too much, your feet can't push down right away. You're almost like leaning too forward, so your feet have to stop yourself.
You're almost running like you're in a good morning or something.
Yeah, like you have to stop yourself and then push forward if you're just a little too leany. So you're technically decelerating when your foot's in front of your center of mass before you can push off.
So you would have to have more force.
Yeah, to make up, just to be.
And there's like an energy leak then there too. You're like wasting it.
That's a good way to put it, a little energy leak. It's not efficient.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I mean, that's putting it plainly.
All right, cool, cool.
Yeah, speed sled was definitely by far our most used tool when we were talking about acceleration. And just being able to feel those forces out the gate and push, and have your body overcome those forces really quick, and getting reps in moving yourself at a high rate of effort, but with that overload too.
Okay.
Yeah. So you kind of you get that adaptation with it, but you also get that technical adaptation too, to learn how to push.
All right. So learning how to push, force into the ground to go faster, making it a point to like have your technical efficiency there, so it's pushing the way you want,
It's pushing
based
the
off
way
your
you
lean,
want. Yeah.
and the power is like generating you there, and it's basically
Yeah.
going from a standstill to a go,
Yeah.
or in open skill like stopping and kind of going, slowing down and going again.
Yeah.
And that's like our encompassing of acceleration there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. You've been talking a lot about the pro guys,
Yeah.
who are going for that.
Yeah.
And you've also mentioned you work a lot with like high school guys.
Mm-hmm.
I know because I recently put like content together around that we put out. You recently had a 110-meter hurdler who like crushed it, and I'm pretty sure you have a 100-meter sprinter who ran a sub 11 too already, right? Like,
yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about the guys you've been, the females you've been working with on site on the gym, who have been producing, and maybe even some of the people we don't know who aren't like putting up the huge numbers, but are seeing the improvements in their speed from the work you're doing. Because I know there's usually like 15 kids down there with you doing stuff.
Yeah. So my first year doing speed, I was coaching Adam Peterson, graduated from Brandywine last year. He's now at St. Joe's Prep. I forget his PR before we met. It was in the low 11s. He was a solid sprinter, but he was the complaint that he had to me when he came to us was like, look, like I win most of my races, but out the gate, like I'm having to catch up to everybody, and I'm like barely winning at some of these meets. And he had a really successful district meet, like his junior year, like he was able to make it to states, and then he just had a really unfortunate state championship run. He didn't make finals. He was unhappy. So when he came to us, our focus was, look, like we're gonna get you stronger. Going back to that, we're not gonna be afraid of the weight room, because he was probably like a buck 45,
so he's
buck
a smaller
50, smaller guy, probably about 5'10", buck 40. 5'11" maybe.
Jeez, that's like me, just way thinner.
Yeah. Yeah, but I will give it to him. He could move, but we spent 5 months just working on the basics. I would do speed sleds with him, work on block starts. That'd be the majority of it, plus weight room stuff, the Olympic lifts, single leg squats and all that. Upper body training as well, and plyometrics, and we continued that process even through in season, and he ended up getting third in the state.
Oh, wow.
And really changing.
Do you know what his time was when he got third?
At the championship, I don't remember. It was sub 11. It was one of his best runs ever. It was pretty fast. Yeah, really, really fast in PA.
We can't all be Usain Bolt, but running a sub 11 second 100 meters is fast.
You're
fast.
Yeah, if I had to guess, it had to be in like the at least 10-8 range.
Okay.
I know it wasn't a PR, but in the championship, like you gotta win, right?
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily pull your best.
You could have ran 11-1 and beat everyone. And it's gold.
Yeah, but he ended up getting third, and that was really fulfilling for him, and going D1. Whereas when he talked to me first day, he was like, "Hey, like I'm looking to go PSAC," which for you guys who don't know, that's D2 in the Pennsylvania area.
Yeah.
So he was able to turn that around and go D1. He just finished his freshman.
That's a great point to make. Like here is a very solid athlete.
Very solid.
Who has elite goals
and
dreams.
Potential, yeah.
And willing to train like an elite athlete, right? Mm-hmm. And put that work in and ended up, going from, hey, I'm D2, now I'm D1, I'm coming third in the state. My college is kind of being paid for type of thing. Like, here you go. And as simple as I shouldn't say as simple, like showing up every day is harder than people think.
It's simple, but it's hard to execute.
And then lifting weights. Like, that was the thing. We had to get you lifting some more weights.
Yeah, he was bold enough to come to us and work on his weaknesses. And for a lot of sprinters, they don't know the weight room and then how to transfer that weight room strength now gained into the sprints.
Okay.
And that's what we really worked on.
So we were talking about the football players, right? Around stuff, and that was more acceleration based.
Yeah.
So I said, you told me when we were prepping around this, just talking about like, hey, what is it with speed? It was acceleration, and then max speed was the other one, right?
Yeah.
Like going
Top
full
end.
throttle, sprinting. Legend.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me something about like max speed, that top end that comes from there, and what goes on.
Yeah, so with max speed, and I'll go back to the pro guys as an example. With max speed, it was basically working on the mechanics. Number one, just like having good structure once you get to that full speed so you can sustain that top speed, really staying upright, making sure that ground contact is pretty much, right where it needs to be, having the integrity in the ankles to really sustain that quick ground contact time, and just following through. We were doing 40s, like following through the whole 40 yards. And I know like track, doing track and field 40 yards isn't necessarily the longest, but for us, like that was our full speed training. And the biggest influence with that was like doing a whole bunch of drills to reinforce those upright mechanics, like A skips for height, skips for distance. Also doing like flying sprints, like slowly building up and just going to a full speed sprint and just trying to hold that well. And trying to influence that ground contact time. I want to go back to that because that's pretty much like when it comes to physical capabilities, that was our number one focus, because, okay, we're working with D tackle and 2 DBs. They're maximum full speed potential to reach that within, okay, we got 60 days. We don't have all this time to just focus on speed and agility. We got to work on the strength aspect, technique. So let's just focus on getting quick ground contact times, like doing plyometrics, depth drops, champion striders, which is basically broad jumps to single leg broad jumps, like hopscotch almost.
Yeah, you
like
alternate, right?
Yeah, alternating.
Isn't it like a 2-legged broad, land on like your right leg?
2, land on one, 2, land on the other one. Like doing stuff like that pretty much was the biggest influence in helping them reach that potential. And then number 2 was just getting reps. Like these guys were on the football field and maybe like 1, 2, 3 reps on a football field, they would get to max speed. Just talking about the DBs, I guarantee Earl, the D tackle, he may have never gotten full speed the whole season. Maybe in practice if they were doing a specific drill. But like these guys just needed to be exposed to that high rate of just athleticism in their body to be able to just keep progressing.
You have to sprint.
So you got to sprint to get faster. So you got to do the thing to get better at the thing, which is sounds redundant, but it's a very crucial part. And you have to do it in a smart way, because when you're moving full speed, you're very vulnerable. And when you're a football player, your body is not really used to that. So we had to take it really easy early on. Like we didn't even touch 40 yards until like almost like a month in, maybe a couple weeks in. We just didn't get to there yet because their bodies just did not. They weren't adapt for that.
Yeah,
so
you
we
don't want
had
those hamstrings coming.
Yeah, we don't want the. Yeah, I mean, one of the guys did have a little hamstring twinge, or D tackle, or like he struggled with that, and Cam actually. Now that I think about it, which were injuries influenced from during the football season, but it just goes to show like
holdovers.
Holdover injuries. Just everyone has to deal with that at some point.
Who's not
with that
injured
sport
by the end of the season, right?
Yeah, you just got to deal with it. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
But Yeah, to put it plainly, we just had to get those reps in and just hone in on like 1 to 2 cues on to help them, how to help them.
Heard you talk about the ground contact as a big thing with sprinting, going fast. And you also mentioned plyometrics, and you mentioned depth drops, I believe was one, and I think you might have said hurdle hops, or I may be combining conversations we had too.
Yeah, we may have. Hurdle hops are another one that we use often.
Why depth drops, why hurdle hops when it comes to like max sprint speed? Like what is the intention and why that choice?
Like when you're sprinting full speed, each ground contact time, there's a whole lot of forces going on in a really small amount of time.
This is impulse too.
Yeah, this is impulse. It's more so of the capability of resistance at that point. Like the impulse conversation goes for both, but the ability to resist how much force is happening to your body when you're in full speed to kind of sustain that full speed. Because it's not like in a 40-yard I mean, elite guys, yeah, but not most 40s, you're kind of holding that top speed for a certain amount of time. You're not purely accelerating the whole time, right? Like elite sprinters, like world class, they can accelerate for a long time. But when you're talking about these football players, they're not going to accelerate for 40 yards. So it's going to take like 15, maybe 20, 22, 25 yards to get to max speed. And then now the game is about how long can you hold that and resist the forces from slowing you down, basically. Yeah. And with those plyometrics, what helps is when you're doing depth drops, when you're doing hurdle hops and focusing on getting off the ground quick, you're kind of training the muscles and ligaments to be able to resist a lot of forces in a short amount of time, like holding dumbbells and doing depth drops to box jumps, stuff like that, to kind of overload that kind of scenario.
A few questions. If I'm holding dumbbells, how heavy of dumbbells am I holding there?
Depends on the athlete, but we wouldn't go more than 25 pounds.
In each hand, right?
In each hand.
So like a total of 50 pounds.
Say like I'm holding 15s.
Okay.
And I'm depth dropping off of a 12-inch box, and I'm doing a jump onto a 24-inch box for like 3 to 5 reps.
Am I still holding the dumbbells when I jump, or do I drop them when I land?
Yeah, you would hold them.
Okay.
You would hold them, arms straight, maybe a slight bend when you're jumping up, but you're holding on the whole time.
Got it. I think we actually have a question here. Yeah, Andrew asked, Legend, do you have any favorite plyos or drills for working on change of direction? I guess this goes back more towards the acceleration one.
Change of direction.
Deceleration into acceleration in another direction type of thing.
Okay.
Is there any,
so there's straight line and then there's side to side. So for the straight line ones, I really like kneeling starts. So it's basically like you drop one knee, like basically in line with that, your toes, pretty much. And from that position, you got to go ahead, break out into a sprint. So all that load is pretty much on the front leg, and you have to resist that extra load to then
do you do that like
change direction.
How we do the Gwiz jumps, how you have to have that back foot off?
So it's different. It's not quite like the Gwiz. Like the Gwiz, that back foot's up. So it's strictly just the front foot going. But for these kneeling starts, the back foot is into the ground, right? So you push off of both, but it's mainly that front one.
Okay.
And you load it. That chest is about the same angle as that front shin. And you just pressing through with that one leg mainly.
Got it.
All the way through extending. It's super uncomfortable when you start doing it, but it teaches you how to just push from a very vulnerable position.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's my favorite linear one. So side to side, a good one I've seen is basically doing like hurdle hops to then sprint, like a side hop, just to
How
get
high is the hurdle you're jumping over?
no more than like 12 inches.
Now, when you
Yeah.
do that, do you jump bilaterally or unilaterally
Yeah.
to go over the hurdle?
So you're jumping unilaterally
Uh-huh.
and then jumping unilaterally again.
Okay.
And then you could either sprint forward or you can sprint to the side. So if you're going to go side to side and then sprint to the side again, we use like no more than like a 6-inch hurdle so that you don't sprint into the hurdle. Right.
Got it.
So you can go both ways, side to side, and then you're going like 90 degrees to a different direction, or you're going 180 back the other direction. So that's another
That's cool.
solid basic. Like I like basic drills and honing it in many reps, because when you start doing a whole lot of different drills, and you don't spend a lot of time on it, I don't feel like you get enough adaptation. And the basic lesson doesn't it's harder to learn when you're kind of trying to teach the same thing in different ways. Just keep it simple. Do that one thing really well instead of trying to do like a couple things so.
I got you.
You know? Yeah.
You go in there.
Yeah.
You got a great suggestions and a thank you for that one then too from
Okay.
boy Andrew.
Okay.
He also had another comment here. From what I learned in high school physics roughly 20 years ago, deceleration is just acceleration in a direction that's opposite of an object's current momentum. So it's just like
Okay.
all I remember from my physics class was building a catapult and it not going as far as I wanted it to go when we had like the testing.
Yeah.
It's like, darn.
It's like, dang. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Deceleration
So,
is the opposite.
yeah. One of the
And-
things I wanted to talk about is the speed gates you use. I always see these little like
Yeah,
things
those
out there.
gates. Yeah. High tech.
Do you think you want to talk about them first and then we can react to some videos too after that?
Yeah. So those gates were crucial in just gathering data. And when you're dealing with the, elite athletes and trying to get them to the professional level, just gathering reliable data over a long period of time was crucial. It was very crucial, just because it gave us confidence in where we were. And when I say confidence, it doesn't have to mean like, yeah, we're confident we're gonna blow it out the water. It's just, okay, I'm confident that what the numbers I'm getting are truly where we are. Like, this is the truth of like what's going on.
Okay.
As opposed to going up, rolling up, and we hit hand time 40. Okay. That's great. But how reliable, I guess is a better word, is that information?
You
No.
had confidence in
Yeah.
your information.
Yeah,
Like,
because
it's not just my eye test telling me this. It's not just what I'm doing when maybe I'm a little quick on the start or late on the start, quick on the finish.
that too. It's like, okay, he just hit a PR. But like, if it was hand timed, there's a little bit of that thought in the back of the head, like, did he just mess up the time? Like,
Yeah.
was that actually like a good rep? So when you deal with high tech like these lasers,
These like
made
shoot
by
at the
Vald.
moon lasers or like lasers on sharks lasers. Like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure you can point these pretty far, but you don't need to. Yeah, the Vault performance lasers were crucial
yeah.
into getting.
And you use them you use them with the middle school
yeah,
kids. That
yeah.
come in, too.
Like we're using them on everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. I'm trying to use them daily,
And-
when the weather permits.
And then you start getting data, I would assume, around like age group ranges, like what's elite here, what's
Yeah, so like now kids are asking, like, hey, like what's a good like 10-yard split? Like what's a good 20-yard split? And now we can be confident, like, hey, like out of all the, I have 5 guys here. If someone runs a 1-6 split, 10 yards, like it's pretty dang good. If they're in high school, middle school, and that's something that we wouldn't have really been confident in knowing if it was hand timed,
And now you have like
and now we have reliable data.
and then you can start tying that to like, well, how much do they single leg squat? Like, how much do they single leg squat relative to their weight and height too? Like things like that. You can start putting more variables into it.
Yeah.
And thinking through it that way too. It's cool stuff. Yeah, let's react to some videos of athletes doing some things. Andrew's gonna get it up. This is Tai G.
There you go. Yeah, here's Tai G.
He's doing 5'10".
Yeah, DB from Georgia State, 5'10", 5 work.
Look at you with your sunglasses over there, looking at the tablet.
I know. Look at all black.
Yeah.
Hot day was a mistake. But yeah,
this looks like it again. So what is he trying to do there? Like, what are we looking at? What Tai G's trying to do?
Yeah, so we're working on the 5'10", 5 here, and I'm rolling with the gates, and Dane's kind of rolling with hand time as well and cues. This was like, at this point in time, this was trying to basically peak. Like, can we get the best time possible right here?
Okay.
And
so
this was the first time we used the lasers outside too.
All right.
We didn't have the lasers the whole 2 months, so this is kind of like our first session outside because they did all their pro days outside. And for most of our training, we were inside. So they just wanted a little bit of a different atmosphere, trying to gameplay it a little bit better. Here's Ty working on the 40.
This looks like the start.
Yeah. Those things are so cool. It's like you break the beam, and you have to wait a couple seconds. It goes 1, 2, 3. Once you're at the third, it's a solid light, and then you can go whenever. And when you're setting it up at hip height, I know you can set it with the hand to also just get like that hand movement. This was the most reliable way at the time to just make sure that we were getting sometimes.
Okay.
But
what brand is it too?
It's Vald, I believe. Yeah, Vald Performance.
Do you know how that's spelled? Like
VALD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he has a shirt on now. This must be a different one.
Yeah. So I think the shirt off one, that was like a true run through. And then with the shirt on, he was just doing some 10-yard sprints. But yeah, I can see weight could have been a little bit more forward. Yeah. The cue for him that I was gonna 2 cues, it was like those first 10, try to run through a brick wall. Make it hyper aggressive, because he wasn't a guy that could just like wake up and then run like 4.4, 4.5 and just like cut down. He had to really push.
This is Cam now.
Here's Cam.
This is indoors somewhere.
Yeah, this is over in Ready at Body Zone.
Okay.
Same thing. Got the lasers at hip height. See 1, 2, 3. When it's solid at 3, then you are good to go.
It goes all the way up.
Yeah, and as soon as you are out of the beam, then it starts. Yeah, Cam.
And that's why they like look over at it.
Yeah, that's why he's looking. He's like, "Hey, am I good? Am I good? Am I in the laser?" Yeah. Yeah, Cam. He's strong. He's real strong for his height and weight. So for him, it was just getting a lot of reps at full speed. He would have really good 10-yard splits. Like, he'd be running sub 1.6. I believe his best 10-yard split was like 1.55.
Okay.
1.5.
Here he is doing the sled now.
Yeah, here's the sleds.
Now that sled looks like it's on his shoulders versus.
Yeah,
I guess it's a whole harness.
It was a whole package. It came with the sled and the harness, and we have another sled with a weight harness on site at the gym. So it's like, you got to be practical, right? You got to work with the equipment that you got.
Yeah.
And it's not like a terrible trade-off. It's just, for me, I have a preference. But yeah, this is when we were just working on acceleration, making sure that we're having our push-offs underneath ourselves or slightly behind, and just making it smooth. Good reps. Good reps. Yeah, you can see the wrap on his left hamstring.
Man.
That was when he tweaked it a little bit.
What do you think of the graphics around there? That's pretty nice.
That's sweet.
Drew did a nice job.
Yeah, he did.
Nice
Good
work,
job, Drew. He's over here going
Yeah.
above and beyond, man. Shout out, Drew.
Drew's running the live stream today.
Yeah.
He's taking responsibilities from Jason. I don't know if the GS crowd knows Drew yet.
Yeah.
Some of them do. He's over here putting his head down now. His hood's up.
Embarrassed.
Drew, do we have a freak of the week over there by chance too? We can react to that.
Was he about to do single leg?
It looks like he's going to do single leg.
I see a roller.
He does not have a single leg.
He doesn't
roller,
have.
though.
Yeah, he's got on the bar.
Yeah, the bar setup, which I think is probably the best like DIY version of it.
Okay, yeah.
And it looks like he has a pad there, at least a mat for his knee to go down.
It looks like 2 plates stacked up, and he has like a yoga mat on top.
Yeah,
which is pretty like.
Yeah,
you just dealing with what you got.
Yeah.
That's pretty legit.
And he goes down and does a double.
Okay.
I don't know exactly how much. Can you tell how much weight that is?
Are those kilos or those pounds?
I
see 3 plates and then another yellow plate on top.
I'm going to say it's 385.
You think that's 385?
Yeah, that's what I would guess. So what is 385? That's like 175 kilos. That's not playing.
Yeah, that's a lot. That would make sense if it's kilos, because then it'd be 320s and then 115, 170.
Yeah.
And then little clips on the side could be 2.5s or whatnot. That's actually my PR on single leg. So that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm probably like, 261, 260? Roughly.
Joseph Hodge plays rugby. I think he's a rugby athlete. We've seen videos of him cleaning like 315. It might have been more.
Okay.
Bench pressing like 315, I think, for reps. Like, dude can put it in. The best part was he was wearing a peak strength.
He was a peak strength shirt.
Yeah, because he trains using the app.
Okay. Nice. Shout out to him. If he's hitting 315 on cleans, but 380 on single leg, that might be his most impressive lift. 315 clean, that's hard. That's a hard thing to do. It's not easy.
No.
385 single leg,
I haven't got in there yet.
Just for one, he's by himself. There's no one spotting. There's so much that can go wrong.
Yo,
there's so much.
Failing a single leg squat is petrifying.
Easily the worst exercise to fail on. Easily.
And though I found if you have 2 spotters, you can be fearless with it.
Even then, though, because I'm just going back to one of our athletes, Luke Warning.
You're talking about when he skilled with the 500?
Yeah, with 500 plus, and he dumped it on one of his first attempts. He ended up getting it, but like that crash, and it's so close to you, and you have one leg up. It's like if it was a dump backward, like, oh my gosh, like it would be a horror scene.
So when I have failed a single leg squat and had 2 spotters, I've never failed it by myself or when I didn't have a spot, just because I have been brave enough to go like, this is the heaviest I've ever been, but it's like, I know I can hit this. Yeah. Like, I'm not in territory where I'm like, yo, I could fail, but I don't think I'm going to fail, where it's like, yo, I'm taking a swing at it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, here we go. It's 50-50.
And when I would fail, I'd just go down and leave my knee on the thing and be like, all right, we're going up on 3, boys. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Yeah.
But you're a strong dude with probably like a good amount of weight. It rarely goes that way, though.
Yeah.
It's usually like off the bounce, it's a little too forward, and then it's just the ship is sinking. You are going down.
No, and then I remember pausing, and I'm just like, oh, man. Like, abs, the stretch in the hip and everything, and it's just like, help, help. No.
Yeah, you're so prone. So prone.
Yeah, but Joseph Hodge, freak of the week again,
Congrats,
with a
Joseph.
385 double, it looked like.
Oh, it was double? It was 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was tough because he had the plates. He had a plate and a yoga mat.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, it looked like a yoga mat to me on top of plates. Like,
Joseph, get yourself a single leg roller and a foam balance pad.
Hey, man, yeah, those foam balance pads, they're not that expensive, man.
No. And it is a lifesaver.
But I get you, though. You're saving money, making it work. That's impressive.
Legend, thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate you, and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, all the speed stuff, all the expert. GS members too, thank you for our fan stuff. I think we may have one. We have some comments here. Let me see if any of them are questions.
All right.
Hodge is rugby, real consistent. A power cage with high safeties feels comfortable for me solo, but I'm only a little above my body weight on the bar. So he's just talking about doing the single leg.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
That does.
Andrew, complete sense. And he said, thanks too. Drew, you got to thank you as well over there.
Appreciate
Legend
you. Shout out Drew.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be on here, man. Yeah. Fun.
Hopefully
We're
we
just
can have
talking
you
about
again.
what we do every day.
Yeah.
And just,
I was going to say, you're going to
shoot
go down after this and you're going to go do it
like, all
right now.
Yeah, I'm just going to do what I just talked about.
He's probably like, when's he getting down here?
Yeah. He's doing with all those football players.
That's it, everyone. Do you want to do Dane's piece? You want to do the piece, or do you have your own little outro you want to do with it?
Are we going to do a countdown, or do I just
no,
look
you
at
just
it?
go, all right, that's it, everyone. Thanks for being here.
All right, I'll do my best Dane impression. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This is Legend Hayes. This isn't Dan Miller, but we're good to go. All right.